She called the patrol and screamed, "Break that gate! He's trespassing on HOA property." Her voice tore through the quiet morning like a siren. The wooden fence rattled as two uniformed men stepped forward, bolt cutters in hand, their badges reading HOA Security Division. I stood on the porch, coffee mug in hand, watching like it was a movie I'd already seen. Beside me, my old dog Duke gave a low growl. "Sir, you need to vacate the property immediately," one of the guards ordered. I tilted my head, pretending to think. Vacate my own land? Interesting. Behind them stood a woman in a bright pink suit, arms crossed, lips tight, and sunglasses hiding her glare but not her attitude. Karen, the self-appointed queen of the HOA, ruling a neighborhood she barely owned half of. "This land falls under the HOA's extended zone," she shouted, "and you haven't paid dues in months." I chuckled quietly. "Extended zone? That's creative." Karen snapped her fingers. "Cut the chain." The guards hesitated, but one bent down and clamped the cutters around the lock. The sharp snap of metal echoed across the field. My coffee was still half full when I spoke again. "You boys sure you want to do that?" "Ma'am gave us orders," one replied, voice shaky. "Orders," I repeated slowly. "Funny thing about orders, they don't mean much when you're breaking the law." Karen rolled her eyes. "You're the one breaking the law, mister. This isn't your land anymore." I stepped off the porch, gravel crunching under my boots. My tone stayed calm. "Is that so?" The guard glanced back at her. She nodded sharply. "All right," he said, swinging the gate open. The moment they stepped inside, a voice came from behind the barn, steady, calm, and commanding. "Hold it right there." Karen spun around. "And who do you think you are?" she snapped. A tall man walked into view, a badge glinting under the sun. The county sheriff's star shone clearly on his vest. "I'm the sheriff," he said, eyes fixed on her. "And this farm is my property." Karen froze. Her confidence slipped like sand through her fingers. I smiled slightly. "Told you it wasn't a good idea to break that chain." She opened her mouth, but no words came. Just like that, the game she thought she was running flipped against her. "Sometimes," I said, turning back toward the porch, "you don't need to fight. You just need to let people walk into their own trap." Karen's face turned red, nearly matching her pink suit. "You're lying," she stammered. "This can't be your property. The HOA has jurisdiction here." The sheriff stepped closer, calm but firm. "Jurisdiction?" He raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, this is private farmland, well outside HOA boundaries." "I should know. I signed the boundary agreement myself." Karen's jaw dropped. "That's impossible." "The board told me." "The board," I interrupted, "has no authority past that white fence line. You just trespassed, damaged private property, and ordered your men to do it." One guard swallowed hard. The other quietly stepped back, realizing how bad this had become. Karen, desperate to hold her ground, crossed her arms. "We'll see about that. I'll call the county office right now." "Please do," the sheriff said, his tone even. "But make sure you explain why you broke a locked gate and entered private property without a warrant." Karen froze. Her phone trembled in her hand. She wasn't used to being challenged, certainly not like this. I leaned against the porch rail, watching her crumble. "You know, Karen," I said quietly, "people like you wear power like perfume. Strong at first, but it fades fast when the law walks in." Her glare could have burned wood. "You think you can talk to me like that?" "I'm on the HOA board." The sheriff gave a short laugh. "Ma'am, that board doesn't outrank the county or the Constitution." For a moment, no one moved. The only sound was the wind whispering through the fields. Then Karen snapped her fingers again, but this time the guards didn't move. They just looked at her, uneasy. "Ma'am," one muttered, "maybe we should leave." She spun on him. "No one's leaving until I say so." The sheriff stepped forward, his tone dropping. "You've already said too much." Her voice cracked. "Are you threatening me?" He shook his head. "Not a threat. Just letting you know your next words better be careful, because this whole thing is being recorded." Karen blinked, confused. "Recorded? What are you talking about?" I pointed toward the fence post. A small red light blinked from a mounted camera. "Smile for the evidence," I said quietly. "That footage goes straight to the county network." The sheriff folded his arms. "You just turned a property dispute into a criminal investigation." Karen's mouth opened, but before she could speak, sirens wailed in the distance. Her voice trembled. "Wait, you called the cops?" The sheriff grinned slowly. "No, Karen, they did. County dispatch tracks my badge signal. Her face went pale, and that was the first moment she realized she wasn't the one in control anymore. Karen's eyes darted toward the road as the sirens grew louder, dust rising from approaching patrol trucks. The guards backed away, mumbling excuses, while Karen clutched her phone like a weapon she no longer knew how to use. "Sheriff, this is a misunderstanding," she shouted, her tone switching from angry to desperate. "I was only enforcing HOA rules." "By breaking a locked gate?" the sheriff interrupted. "By trespassing on private land?" She flinched. "I was told this property was part of our new annexed zone." I stepped closer and pulled a folded paper from my jacket. "You mean this annexation notice?" Her eyes flickered. "Yes, that's the one." The sheriff took it, unfolded it, and smirked. "Ma'am, this document has no county seal, no signature, and the official stamp," he rubbed his thumb across it, "looks like it came from a home printer." He rubbed his thumb over the paper. "Looks like this was printed from a home office printer." Karen's face twisted in disbelief. "That's not possible. I got it from the HOA president himself." The sheriff handed it back. "Then you might want to call him because you just committed document fraud, trespassing, and property damage." The HOA guards looked horrified. One whispered, "I told you this was a bad idea, Karen." Karen spun on him, furious. "Don't you dare talk to me like that. You work for me." The sheriff's tone hardened. "Not anymore. They work for the law, and right now you're the one breaking it." The sound of tires on gravel drew everyone's attention. County patrol cars stopped at the gate, red and blue lights flashing across the golden field. Two deputies stepped out, hands resting calmly on their belts. "Everything all right, Sheriff?" one asked. "Yeah," he replied, eyes locked on Karen. Just a woman who thought she owned more than she did. Karen's defiance cracked. "You can't arrest me. I'm on the HOA board." The sheriff's voice turned cold. "Ma'am, that board doesn't put you above the law." As the deputies approached, Karen made one last desperate move. She pointed at me. "He's lying. He forged the land papers. Check his records." I didn't say a word. Instead, I reached into my back pocket and pulled out a small black wallet. County-issued identification, the same as the sheriff's. Karen's face went pale. The sheriff gave a faint smile. "You see, Karen? He's not just a landowner. He's my deputy." Her lips trembled. "Deputy?" I nodded slowly. "Retired. Bought this land fair and square, but looks like I'm back on duty today." Karen staggered back a step, her face ghost white as the patrol lights reflected off her sunglasses, painting her in red. The sheriff turned to his deputies. "Get statements from the guards and make sure she's cited for every offense, especially impersonating authority." Karen gasped. "Impersonating?" "I didn't," he cut her off. "You dressed your guards like police." "That's impersonation." She tried to speak, but nothing came out. I crossed my arms. "Karen, next time you try to take someone's land, make sure they're not the law themselves." Her shoulders sagged. The guards looked away, ashamed. The sirens faded, leaving only the sound of the wind. For the first time, Karen realized her little empire had just fallen. Right in the middle of my driveway. "Power's funny," I said quietly. "You think you have it, until someone reminds you who really does." Karen stood frozen as the deputies surrounded her. The sheriff gave a single nod, and one of them began reading her rights. Her pink suit, once so bright, looked dull under the flashing lights. "I didn't mean to," she whispered, but no one listened. One of the guards slipped away quietly. Not wanting any part of her mess, the sheriff turned to me. "You all right, partner?" "Better than ever," I said, watching as they led her away. As the patrol cars drove off, her voice echoed faintly through the fields. "You'll regret this," I smiled. "Already don't," Duke barked once, tail wagging, and the farm fell silent again. Later that evening, I sat on the porch with my coffee, looking at the repaired gate and the calm horizon. "Funny," I muttered. "How some people think rules make them powerful." I took another sip. Out here, the land decides who's in charge. And with that, the story of HOA Karen came to an end. Not with a fight, but with the law reminding her who she'd tried to cross. Justice served. Peace restored. One less Karen to worry about the end.